quick introduction to EDI principles in a mentorship context. And this is going to be a little bit different than EDI principles in a leadership context or in just day-to-day principles. So first off, yes, I use she, her pronouns, and I'm contributing as a member of the Engineering Student Society today. So a few important notes before we get really into it. I understand that this is an online meeting and therefore we are all joining from different aspects of Calgary or even Canada. But I do want to start off with a quick land acknowledgement for where I'm joining you today. I am joining you from the University of Calgary and I am in the Engineering Student Society office right now. So I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 region in the Southern Alberta. The city of Calgary is also home to Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. That is a quick land acknowledgement for where I'm joining you from today. Please take the time to maybe look into the land where you are right now. So another thing I want to address is a safer space request. So this is EDI training, and as such, there are some sensitive topics that can come up, and there are some sensitive questions that other people may have. So please keep anything that is shared in this room today kind of to yourself. Just don't go and gossip about it. People might have specific questions, and I'd like to be able to create a space where people feel comfortable sharing their identities. Please come into this training being willing and open to challenging your assumptions and ask any questions if you have them. And yeah, those are my two important notes before we really get into it. So what are we doing today? Right? That's the big question here. First, I would like to define EDI. That is an acronym. Some of you have never heard it before. Then I want to look into EDI as a leadership context. So how can you apply this to your leadership, to your mentorship, to your day-to-day activities? Then I want to kind of look at examining your bias and examining some topics such as intersectionality. And I want to really stress the point that diversity is a starting point. So, and how do you really like apply diversity to your day-to-day life and recognize that as a mentor? So first off, EDI, what is it? It's an acronym and it stands for equity, diversity, and inclusion. Now, these are some definitions that I kind of came up with after a lot of EDI sessions that I've attended and a few observances. So I would consider personally equity the act of considering barriers that marginalized communities may face when you are allocating resources and making decisions. So as a mentor, when you are working with these younger generations and these kind of kids, right, you need to consider what barriers are they facing that you know nothing about, right? The D in the EDI acronym stands for diversity. This is the complex and socially defined differences and experiences among people. And these experiences really stem from different aspects of your identity. Different aspects of your identity are things like your gender, ethnicity, age, sexuality, and something that I think isn't really stressed a lot is class. We really have to look at class when we're looking at this diversity things, especially when you are working with small children again. So then inclusion. So this is an active and ongoing process. Inclusion, I don't expect any of this to happen overnight. I don't expect any of you to wake up tomorrow and be absolutely perfect at every single principle of EDI, but inclusion is an active and ongoing process of creating institutional change and creating spaces that allow for more change. So because we are working with a club here and we are a club, you need to recognize that you are a part of an institution and you have policy, and that policy may not fit for everyone. A one-size-fits-all solution is not going to work here, right? You really need to consider how you are systemically contributing to inclusion in your day-to-day kind of life, right? Are you making sure everyone feels safe? Ask yourself those questions. Then there's an engineering context, okay? Inclusive designs are safer. For an example, if you have ever ridden a motorcycle as a woman, you may have noticed that your hands physically cannot always reach the clutch. That is not very safe. Like personally, I have to like stretch my hands all the way out and it's like, it doesn't work well. It's not safe. If you're in biomedical engineering, are you testing your devices, your creations against all gender identities? Are you considering that in your designs? Inclusive designs are safer. They prevent accidents, they prevent death, and they prevent injury. So really looking at how can we ensure that other people's identities are being considered in that design process. Diverse teams also make better decisions. When you are on a team and you have just maybe all civil engineers making a decision or all mechanical engineers making a decision. You're going to get very repetitive designs because you guys kind of all took the same classes and you had the same profs and you had the same experiences. But in engineering, there's a reason that some of the coolest capstones are made by multi-major teams. It's because they have all this different experience. They are better engineers because they make better decisions. They have cooler ideas. And that's kind of just facts if you look at like the historical capstone ideas. But that whole diverse engineering context that can be applied to your actual teams as well. Diverse teams with diverse backgrounds will make better decisions on who to hire, on who to keep on their team, on different design flaws that you may not have considered to be design flaws. So really looking at your team members' diversity, right? You also get a diversity in thought, and that's an amazing benefit. Kind of already touched on that a little bit, but one thing I want to look at for inclusion is, again, that whole idea of classism. Sorry, I just got something in the chat. Explain capstone. Oh, it's not all engineers here. It's mostly computer science. I didn't know that. Capstone is your last year. Sorry, I thought it was looking like it was just engineers. My bad. What is capstone? Capstone is in your last year, you need to do a big project. That big project is all the engineers making a final project. That's what your capstone is, just in case anyone was wondering. Yes, classism. Having the privilege to get an engineering degree or even to be in university, it is a privilege. We have to pay tuition. That is a huge cost. And the fields that we're going into, the fields of STEM, are incredibly classist because the education behind STEM is often so expensive. So really looking at enabling people of different classes to participate in STEM, right? When you have an iterative design process, it allows more space for equity, diversity, and inclusion to be embraced. So if you're creating a design and you're considering that design to be an be-all, end-all of what you're doing, that's not very iterative. It doesn't allow space to grow. Any questions so far there? Okay. Perfect. So these are some statistics that I found recently. These are not old all-time statistics. These are as August 2021, right? That's like our earliest one, I think. So 14.4% to 72.2%, that is a ratio. The 14.4% is women aged 25 to 64 with a bachelor's degree or higher in STEM compared to men. So 72.2% of men have a bachelor's or higher compared to women in STEM. APEGA. APEGA is your Association of Professional Engineers and Geoscientists of Alberta. 14.2 of those APEGA engineers are female identifying, and that is from August of 2021. So that is an incredibly recent statistic. For those of you who don't know, we have something called 30 by 30. 30 by 30 is an initiative kind of ran by like a Canada-wide initiative to get 30% of women in female identifying or women in engineering by 2030. So APEGA wants 30%, that 14.2% right now, they want to get to 30% by 2030. Obviously, I don't even if we admitted 100% for like the next 5 years, I don't think that's like a goal we are actually capable of reaching. But that the fact that we can't reach that goal is something that we really have to be looking at as people in the fields of STEM, right? And from across all of Canada, let's look at this for a national scale for a second. Only 3% of your Canadian engineers are Indigenous, and that is a 2016 statistic. So I'm not just making this up and I'm like, we need to consider the following things, especially with diversity. It's really important to get that diversity of thought, to get that diversity of design. And one thing about these statistics, though, is they're based on data. And unfortunately, those data, when you're collecting data, it's often a yes or no question that's being asked. And that does not account for something called intersectionality. And there we go. Intersectionality was noticed by de Grandfried. In a 1976 case, she went against General Motors. So basically, she was trying to get paid more. And she was trying to get paid more, and her manager was like, well, that's weird because you're a woman, so this is a female issue. So she went to a community, and they were like, no, you are Black, so that is going to be a Black issue. And she was at this place where both of those identities were impacting her, and she wasn't being recognized for either of them. So what is intersectionality? It is a start to understanding how multiple forms of inequality or disadvantage sometimes compound themselves and create obstacles that cannot be understood with conventional ways of thinking. So when you're thinking in terms of Black or white, you're either a woman or you're Black, right? In this scenario, when you're thinking in terms of one or the other, it does not work, because you have to recognize the background here. You have to recognize that idea of intersectionality, that multiple identities can compound and impact your life in multiple ways. And intersectionality is something that you're going to face as mentors, right? You're going to face students who have had complex either racial or ethnic experiences, and who also have had either complex, like maybe class experiences or educational experiences, or maybe they've had to learn like another language coming here, or maybe they have like no idea what's going on and they don't really want to be mentored at all, right? And their parents just kind of made them. So you're going to deal with a lot of these different identities and thoughts. And they're also, one thing you have to recognize is you're going to be dealing with younger students who might not have had the either experience or the space to allow themselves to explore their identities fully, right? So you're going to have to be able to say, hey, this kid is being very complex and I don't understand it, and recognize that they don't understand themselves. You're dealing with students who haven't had the opportunity yet to really look at their identities and how they've been impacted by their identities. And intersectionality is really all about recognizing that those who may have outwardly similar experiences do not have the exact same experiences. So looking at this on like a more personal level, I'm at a space where when I'm an Indigenous person and my family has historically been involved with the residential school system, and that has had lasting impacts on me. However, I was not raised in Indigenous community. I was not raised on the residential school system. I have not been raised there. So having that kind of like identity has impacted me in a lot of ways. And the residential school system has had a permanent impact on my life, but I wasn't raised on the reserve, right? So it's been this almost intersection of, wow, well, I was raised in like Winnipeg and Fort McMurray and like very city-based places, but I've had this lasting impact from this other identity that I haven't really had the space to embrace. So looking at that's just like one personal example. I'm sure many of you have a lot of other personal examples, but taking that time to recognize that intersectionality is really going to support both you as a leader and you as a mentor. Do we have any questions on that right now? If you have any questions, just like unmute yourself or like drop it, something in the chat. It'll just make it a little bit easier. Okay. Awesome. So what can you do, right? There's sort of three main sections that I've broken everything into. The first one is notice. Noticing your surroundings and being aware of your surroundings is incredibly important. So one of the questions you should ask yourself is, who disproportionately signs up to do the work of EDI? You're seeing a lot of people, right, who are doing this work of trying to get everyone, as many people in as possible, and gain that diversity of thought. But noticing who is signing up to do that work is going to show you what groups are really impacted by, and who might feel the most impacted by the negative impacts that a lack of EDI has had, right? When you're in a classroom, when you're in a boardroom, when you're making decisions, when you're mentoring students, who isn't represented in that room? What student groups are not represented in your mentorship? What students aren't represented in the boardroom that you're in or the classroom that you're in? And why is that? How can you help facilitate giving them a space to be able to have maybe different students or more students or students with other backgrounds that aren't represented? Or in your case, where it's more of a individual who isn't in the room, who isn't in the Zoom meeting right now, how can you invite them in, right? So the second sort of pillar here is calling others in. If you're in a situation where someone says something inappropriate, being able to say, hey, I think we should have a talk about this later, or not necessarily embarrassing them because maybe they didn't know, right? Maybe they didn't know what they said was negative. Maybe they didn't know it had a bad impact. But being able to take someone aside and have a conversation with them about maybe intentions or purposes it's going to be more incredibly effective. And you're going to be able to learn a lot more about your individual that you're calling in. Always assume positive intent as a good rule of thumb, because again, there's this intersectionality, right? You have a cross-cultural basis a lot of the times. Maybe someone genuinely didn't know. It could have been a miseducation, could have been a misunderstanding. Maybe it was just that it could have been a negative intent, but if you have a conversation about it, a lot of the time, you're going to learn new things and find new things. And when you're mentoring other people, being able to kind of use inclusive language and show them how to deal with things that you may have experienced personally, that's really what it's about. Being able to show them how to call other people in, right? Because they're still in school, right? They may have experienced severe bullying at points. Being able to teach them how to deal with that is going to improve your mentorship, right? The third kind of pillar here is using inclusive language. So what does this mean? Do not be afraid to ask for other people's pronouns. And if you mess them up, just apologize and move on, and then correct yourself in the future. That can also look kind of like introducing yourself with your pronouns, especially to your mentors, or your mentees. Yeah, your mentees, being able to say, hi, my name is whatever. These are the pronouns that I use. What about you? It also contributes to normalizing this whole inclusive language idea. So any questions on anything you can do specifically? Is there any situation you have experienced where you would have wanted this used? Okay. Take that as a no. But yes, okay, we do have time for the Kahoot. I made this kind of 20-ish minutes long, which is good because that's about how much time I was expecting it for it. This is kind of a space for questions. We're gonna do a little quick Kahoot. This one was based on my last EDI training slide, so it's gonna be fun. We're gonna have to reshare my screen. Are you able to see?
No, it's like your Kahoot main page.
Hmm. One moment. Oh, there we go. We're good now?
Yeah.
Cool. How many of you are there?
There's 32 people in the room.
Okay. It's a decent amount. Congrats on getting that many people in a meeting. Okay. Just gonna give it like a few seconds here. When people stop joining, we'll start. Okay, player limit has been reached. If you cannot get in, that just pay attention. It's gonna be fun. Okay, we're gonna start. So which of the following should be considered for an inclusive event? Advocacy, accessibility, how happy people would be, or innovation? Yes, so obviously advocacy is incredibly important, but sometimes it is not your responsibility to advocate for certain groups. So ensuring accessibility and that the event is going to be accessible to everyone is going to be the most effective solution. Shout out to Jamie. True or false, 22.7% of women are professional engineers in Alberta. Yes, that is false. It was 14.2% of women are professional engineers in Alberta. Or geoscientists, but probably engineers. What is unconscious bias? Discrimination based on gender, age, race, or disabilities, unsupported prejudice used to define others, only considering others' ideas based on race, or communication that doesn't take others' views into account. Yes, okay, so we didn't really touch too much on unconscious bias here. I made this Kahoot based on my last kind of diversity training that I gave, so I do apologize for that. But unconscious bias is not discrimination based on gender, age, race, or disabilities. Unconscious bias is the thinking of it, the process of it. So it is that unsupported prejudice used to define others like mentally, and it's unsupported. That's like one of the big keywords here. Yeah, does anyone have any big questions on that? Please just unmute and chat if you do. Okay, perfect. Let's keep going here. Nice. Which of the following is no, oh, this is totally meant for ESS. Skip this. It was confidence, by the way. Why does diversity matter in engineering? Increase innovation. To be nice, we need more engineers, and diversity is the only way to do that, and to reduce the amount of viewpoints present. Yes, we do not want to reduce the amount of viewpoints present. Whoever, the two of you who said that, no. We are trying to increase the amount of viewpoints present because that is going to contribute to that increased diversity of thought, and that is good, and we want that. That is something you really have to value in your mentorship when you are mentoring others. You want their viewpoints. You want to make sure that they will be able to give their viewpoint going forward. So we want to increase those amount of viewpoints. Diversity is not the only way to get more engineers. There's other incentives we could offer, especially money, but really looking at that increased innovation, that is going to contribute to long-term sustainability as a profession. And that is what we're really looking at, right? So diversity matters because increased innovation. I'm glad no one said to be nice, but I almost would have preferred that to reduce the amount of viewpoints present. Okay, here's your podium. In third place, we're going to have Annika. In second place, it's June. And in first place, it's Shinaza. Do we have any questions there? Okay, fantastic. Good job to all of you who won. There's still music playing on my computer. I don't know where it's from. We're just gonna quit all my tabs. No, it's not letting me. Okay, it's fine. I hope you guys have enjoyed this sort of diversity training, and please do not hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions, comments, concerns. I am at the outside of ENE 134A in the Schulich School of Engineering all day. Be here till like 10 p.m. So if you need anything, I'm here. Awesome. So thank you guys so much for having me, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Ella.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. That was a great presentation. I think it really hammered a few important points across, and hopefully the mentors can be aware of all of this stuff during their mentorship. And now we're going to be moving on to the presentation. I was just wondering, Abu, do you want to, since I don't know if I'll be able to stay through the whole thing, do you want to screen share it?
I'm hoping it won't last more than 30 minutes. So I think Rohit, it's okay if you share your screen.
You think? Okay.
Yeah. So I guess what we'll do right now is a brief little introduction. Is we have another set of slides that are more, targeted towards what is going to happen in your day-to-day life as a mentor. And that's kind of like the expectations that we kind of have for you guys, and the expectations that we will require from you towards your mentees, and some of the logistics, I guess, that goes into becoming a mentor, and all the other stuff that we'll kind of present to you right now. We'll have our executive team kind of switching between slides to present more specific slides. So don't get too confused by the flipping around here and there, and kind of bear with us as we try to take this one step at a time. So yeah, thank you guys for joining us again for today's mentor training for the winter semester of 2023 with Schulich Ignite. So the first disclaimer that we want to give to all of you guys, and this is not just for today, but moving forward with session 0 until session 8, is that we will be recording and uploading all the sessions onto YouTube. I'll actually, first of all, link the slides here, as you might find them useful if you want to take a look at them afterwards. And that's a great idea. I'd recommend it if you forget anything. As well as here's our YouTube that I was talking about right here. So we have a YouTube channel. It has an okay following, I would say. And we've been working on this YouTube channel for quite a while, I guess, since we started Schulich Ignite. And we record all of our sessions for all of the mentees that cannot attend, or the mentors that maybe missed a session for whatever reason that may be. And we upload it on our YouTube. And even we are actually trying to partner up with some other organizations that are outside of Canada. And so they can attend during the specific time zone that we have here. And so they try to watch these videos afterwards. So just a quick disclaimer that if you do turn on your screen, or if you're unmuted and you ask a question in the sessions, then you will be on those videos on YouTube. But that hopefully shouldn't discourage any of you guys to ask any questions or kind of get engaged as much as possible. It really is just a quick, like 10-second showing of your voice or your face. But yeah, starting with the executive team, and we'll just go through the executive team here to kind of give you guys a brief idea of who to contact if you are stuck with anything in particular. So there's myself right there. My name is Aboud Abbas. I'm the current president for Schulich Ignite. And we have Rohit here. He is the VP events for Schulich Ignite. And so you'd either reach out to me for any initiatives that you maybe have in mind, or some very, very like dire suggestions that you kind of have seen or would like to kind of see change moving forward with any of the sessions, or even outside of the sessions. And for Rohit, you'd rarely talk to him unless if that's like related to an event. So for example, when the gala comes around, and you guys will get to hear about what the gala is later on in these slides, please contact Rohit for any clarifications or anything related to any of the social events. So we had a social event this past Tuesday. So Rohit would be the person for asking questions to. Then we have Sasha. Sasha's unfortunately not here today, as he is very, very busy. He is our VP logistics. And what Sasha basically does is that he helps us with all the recruitment stuff, and any of the attendance sheets, if you guys have any problems with the attendance sheets, or also some of the, what else does Sasha do? I guess during the sessions, mainly the attendance sheet, I would say. So if you have any questions about the attendance sheet, or if anything is wrong with that, ask Sasha. We have Anna here as well. She's VP Finance, and she'll be dealing with a lot of the financial stuff for Schulich Ignite. So I imagine that most of you guys will not kind of encounter any problems related to that. We also have Janine here, and she's the VP Communications for Field Ignite, and you probably ask her a lot of questions actually regarding some of the submission marking, some of the emails that are going out. If your groups, if you have any questions about your Zoom meetings that you've received or any of your groupings with your mentees, please ask her as soon as possible because we have sessions here tomorrow. So ask her by today if you have the chance. Then we have Fanny, which is the content development VP, and she is the person that takes care of all the slides. She creates all the slides. She adjusts them from semester to semester. She creates new slides and everything that kind of goes in between slides in general, and even submission marking. I must mention that as well because that could kind of get out of hand at some point. So make sure to contact Fanny about that for any clarifications. Lastly, we have Arya here. He's the VP External, and he is the person that is coordinating a lot of the external stuff that is outside of the sessions. So outside of the I guess the mission statement of Field Ignite. So for example, we're hoping to kind of collaborate on a hackathon soon and some of the workshops that Arya kind of organizes along with Rohit. So that's what Arya kind of does. Moving onwards, I'll toss it off to Lujaina about our expectations from you guys for this semester.
Sounds great. Thank you, Abood. So hi, everyone. My name is Lujaina. I am the junior president. So my role is to basically support Abood in everything that he does for kind of the semester, and we'll take it forth from there. So next slide, please. So to give everyone a sense of the scheduling, so the Tuesday is the advanced session, and that's Flare. It runs from 6 to 7:30, and it's a hybrid session. The Thursday session is a beginner session, that's Ignite. It's also hybrid 6 to 7:30, and so is Wednesday, that's Scorch, which is our web development kind of stream. Sorry, that's not hybrid, that's only on Zoom 6 to 7:30. And then Saturdays is Zoom 12 to 1:30. Please make sure to arrive 10 minutes before your session starts, just so you have enough time to answer any of mentees' questions if they have them before the session starts. Set up your laptop, headphones, any programs you'll need, screen sharing, anything else you feel you might need before the session starts, just so you can get started right away. For next slide, please. For the beginner sessions, you'll be using processing on Trinket.io. So I'm not sure if everyone's going to be getting these slides later on, but just make sure you have that downloaded beforehand. And there's a basic Python crash course if you really need it, but kind of most people are expected to have at least been comfortable with Python. For the advanced sessions, you'll be using VS Code, which again, I expect most people to have already, and then Pygame. Again, there's a crash course for Python object-oriented programming and Pygame if you need it. And then for any of the web development sessions, you'll be using VS Code and HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and then just going through the fundamentals of web dev and web infrastructure. So how the lectures will work, you'll be given kind of, I think it's like 45 minutes, 30 to 45 to an hour a minute, to introduce the concept through a lecture. So that's going through any examples, covering any content, really explaining the content to the students. And then you'll be given time, or you'll be giving them time to work on exercises. So if you're online, you're going to go into breakout rooms. If not, you're just kind of like huddling around tables or something. And that's going to be working on exercises. During this time, you'll be expected to kind of ask the students if they need any help, encourage them to work on the exercises by themselves, just act as a mentor for the students and be there if they need you to answer questions or kind of help them with anything that they're facing. And then at the end, you'll be giving them larger exercises to work on. So these are the ones that are worth Ignite points that will be accumulated at the end of the sessions. And then if you're online only, those sessions will require floaters. So if any mentors can't make it to that session, a floater can kind of hop in and kind of substitute for them. But also if anyone needs help from breakout room to breakout room, a floater can kind of hop in and answer those questions for them.
Hi everyone, I'm Lavish and I'm junior finance. So we have a point system and they're called Ignite points, and they're achieved through session exercises, weekly challenges. And basically the whole point of these is that at the end, the points tally up and the winners of those receive prizes. So they can be like Amazon gift cards or like other type of like incentives we have and we offer. They're basically to encourage students to participate and continue attending and showing up to all of our lectures and keeping up on top of their assigned homework. And for mentors, make sure you don't answer any of the quick question polls, just because you want to let them have a chance at it, and also they can get points through that as well. So yeah.
Oh, hi, I'm Anna and I'm VP Finance, and then I'll explain a little bit more about the point system. So the one on the previous slide was for the regular sessions, which is the Thursday and the Saturday one. And then for the Tuesday advanced sessions, like it's like a similar system, but then what the points are given for are a little bit different. So like, for example, for the regular sessions, there's also like social media exercises where like the mentees get points, but that doesn't exist for the advanced sessions. So for the advanced sessions, the points are mainly like the weekly exercises, the final project, and also attendance and quick questions. And then for web development, which is on Wednesday, this is our first time doing Ignite points for it. So for the web development, the mentees, they can get points for exercises, quick questions, and attendance. And also tomorrow at session 0, like we're gonna go more in depth about the Ignite points. And from that, you can probably learn more details about it. So yeah, this is just like a general overview.
Hi, everyone. I'm Logan. I'm a junior VP of content development, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about exercise submission. So we've got these 2 sheets here, one for each of our beginner streams, Bugbusters and Pythonic Lava. And you can refer to them if your mentees have any questions about their exercise submissions. So yeah, you can use these sheets to check whether the exercise has actually been marked and look at any feedback they've received. You can go ahead and message Angie for any like beginner session inquiries and Primpreet for any advanced session inquiries, just on Slack. And an important note is to not share the sheets themselves with your mentees. They can get their specific feedback, but not the sheet itself. And yet, note to everyone, we're hoping to include submission marking for our Flare sessions as well, to kind of encourage them to try out the end of session exercises and be engaged with the content. But we need, like, we're in dire need of more members. So if you're interested, reach out to myself, Fanny, or Primpreet on Slack. And for Scorch, there's no like dedicated submission marking team. So each mentor is responsible for marking their mentees' submissions. And they'll be submitted at the form link there. And the rubric is in the GitHub repo, in the README file, and example answers are also supplied there. Okay, just a little bit more about what we expect from you. Really try to arrive 10 minutes before sessions begin, and make sure that once sessions have begun, you take your mentees' attendance. So the session moderators will send out the attendance sheet. You just have to mark a little check mark if your mentees are there or not. And then make sure you stay around for the debrief session after each lesson. There will be a little bit more about that in a bit. And definitely make sure to check the Slack and the Slack channels and your email frequently. We send a lot of information in there, and it's kind of easy to fall behind if you don't check it frequently. And also just try and make sure you let us know 3 days before if you can't make it to a session. And you really cannot miss more than 3 sessions.
Hi everyone, I'm June and I'm the Junior VP Logistics. And basically what's going to happen, like after all this mentoring is said and done, is that we're going to be hosting a gala, which is pretty exciting, I think. And essentially it's just a place for students to show their final projects, or I guess mentees in this case. We'll have like industry professionals come in, not just like necessarily professionals, but also other students, let's say club captains. Yeah, just people that are like heavily involved in Schulich and also like the computer science field. And they can just talk about what it's like to be in the industry, tips and tricks, and how to like, improve in that, right? Next slide. Yeah, and another thing too, back to the debrief sessions, generally speaking, because we are just like a student-run club, it will be really useful to get feedback as to ways to improve. And one of those is like, go through a mentor, ask what could we do better next time to prepare, or how could we make sure that these sessions are better and what materials could we talk about, right? Generally speaking, it's only 10 to 15 minutes, not too long. Yeah, just show up, give us some feedback. Hopefully that way we can improve for the future. And finally, for hybrid sessions, which are both like in-person, online, it's like awkward in between, right? Try to share your screen during the breakout rooms, unless the students obviously sharing theirs. Engaging students, generally speaking, is very important. If they are engaged, they'll be able to learn more. Yeah, and then the final one. Boom. And if the breakout rooms are quiet, this is where it's like kind of awkward, but there are many different ways you could try to get them to be more engaged. Here are some prompts. I guess I'm going to read through them. Just bring up and try to explain them ways to improve, if you will. Yeah. That is still me. Okay, so if they're still quiet, there are some other resources, activities you can bring up, and yeah, ask them to complete the what type of programmer are you? Just questions outside of the basic like coding, because you don't necessarily have to always stick to the pure just coding stuff. Try to ask them questions. As Ella mentioned earlier, try to discuss with them stuff outside of maybe just like the pure coding, and maybe that way they'll be able to connect with you more as a person, and that also could increase engagement. If you want more engagement tips, there's a document down there below.
Yeah. Hi everyone.
Yes.
I'm Evan, the Junior VP of Communications here at Schoology Ignite. And so for our Discord, we do require that you guys do join the Ignite Discord. And that basically just helps with, more communication just on some sort of platform that most people would use. And, that's an opportunity to ask mentees, or for mentees to ask questions outside of class time, and for all that stuff, like constant flow of communication between mentees and mentors. And we do expect that you answer questions that any mentees have. So anything related to the Python coding or anything like that, yeah. And then you can check your email for the day of the week and group number. And then on Discord, you can just type in like that basically structure link there, just the day group set, day group number, and there's a little example there just to get you set up for that. And that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so
that's everything. Oh, do you want to take it over?
I was going to say it is first of all, I think I linked the what's it called, the slides in the chat right there. If anybody wants to, especially for the engagement part, I know that we kind of briefly talked about it, but there are, like, if you want to look at those more in detail. So for the quiet breakout rooms, because I know that I think 70% of all of our mentors / mentees will be online this semester. And so make sure to kind of look into that in depth on your own time, because I understand that some of these questions might be a little bit awkward for some of us to ask. However, they are necessary to kind of make sure that our retention rate with our mentees is consistent throughout the session. So we don't want any mentees to kind of drop out halfway through the sessions. And we want to make sure that we're kind of make the mentees feel as comfortable as they possibly are. And if they're just not engaged in the material at first, then maybe kind of go outside, as June has said, go outside of the content material, and then kind of elaborate on talking about them, what got them interested in engineering, what got them interested in computer science, all that kind of stuff. And then maybe that's a nice little icebreaker, but there are more suggestions on the slides if you guys have the link for them, which I left in the chat. But any other questions, I guess, before we end off the day? It's a short meeting today. We don't want to take too much of your Saturdays. So any last minute questions? And much more details will be given, I guess, in terms of the Ignite points. If some of you guys are confused, it is kind of a little bit more specific towards each of the courses that we provide. So it will be dependent on if you're teaching Ignite, Flare, or Scorch, and that's beginner, advanced, or the web development. So I guess you'll get to hear more about that tomorrow. Cool. If nobody has any last minute questions, or if you guys have any questions, I guess, after the session ends, don't ever feel hesitant to ever ask me any of the questions on Slack. As Logan has mentioned, we use Slack for everything, really. So that's our main source of communicating between mentors for slides, And then Discord is for mentees to kind of make sure that they're up to date and getting the help that they need. Yeah. Cool. If no questions are left, we'll end it off there. Thanks to Rohit here for organizing this event and organizing to bring Ella on. And we already thanked Ella and she's gone now, so no need to thank her again when she's not here. But thank you all again for making it out today as well. And we'll see you guys tomorrow for session 0. Cool. I think it's just the executives now. Does any junior VP have any question, I guess, for tomorrow or any kind of concerns moving forward? I'm hoping to keep the Monday meeting a little bit shorter this time around, because I understand that we'll be very, very, very busy this week with session 0, mentor training, and even our regular sessions. So I'm hoping to kind of keep it like a quick little stand-up this Monday. And I know that I was talking to Lujaina last time, and I think it might be actually a little bit more beneficial to kind of keep the weekly meetings a little bit shorter than an hour and 15 minutes, as they usually kind of are right now, or like an hour. So we'll try to make it more of like a stand-up moving forward, but we'll see how that goes, because sometimes what you want is not what you got, but we'll see. But yeah, any questions, I guess, before we head off? No? That's good. Okay, cool. If not, enjoy the rest of your weekends, you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow, maybe, if we're together, I guess.